Morning, everybody. Michelle is here. Michelle is here on Monday, March the 30th, 2026. On a Monday. Ooh, Monday, I've been doing some cleaning. So, because this place, as I've said, accumulates so much dust. Is unreal. I'm sure it's coming from the AC, because that's the old model ACs that were built back in the 60s, 70s, and it doesn't matter. I have air filters, and I clean as much as I can, and the dust still appear. I told you we have extreme amount of activity around here, construction, and and then the roadways, that asphalt, that chips off, because it's made of, who knows what it's made of, but it's not built to last, put it that way. These asphalt or paving companies know that potholes are not going to be resolved. They know that, but how do they generate income? Constantly coming back and fixing the potholes. So people complaining about potholes are, you're talking into a wall, with your nose against the wall. Okay. The intention, if anybody's paying attention, is not to resolve anything. It's just to keep talking about strategies, and keep talking about how you're going to scale, and all this rambling. The business plan and the business plan is to keep it at status quo. How these guys need a job, sadly. These paving companies need a job. These construction workers need a job. These hospitality industry need a job. We all need jobs. So if you resolve an issue, a lot of people are going to be out of work. Okay? I don't know how much plainly I need to put that. And we all know that. Unconsciously, we all know that. We know that if we resolve one issue, it's going to throw people out of work. And a lot of things that are happening now are consequences. We waited until it was too far gone, and the damage has been done. And there's not much you can do. If you're talking on a grand scale, unless the hierarchical structures decide to give up on their materialism, their control, their dominance. And how likely is that? So as an individual, you're going to have to make people fold and make people walk away. And what do I mean by that? You're going to have to continue to be righteous, continue to operate in neutral positive energy, neutralize the negative as much as possible. Okay, do the right things. The right things will literally, figuratively, and metaphorically set you free. So there's too many of us on this planet, almost 10 billion people, for these hierarchical structures to necessarily focus on one or two or a few individuals. I mean, they still do, but there are other pressing issues. Like when you continue to operate in criminal, negative energy, being manipulative, being deceptive, that's going to affect you inside. And what do I mean by that? Your health. Your health is going to be affected by that. When you are dealing in criminal, negative energy, intentionally knowing that you are, that's going to affect your health. That's why you have all of these so-called experts having so many health issues, looking literally, figuratively, metaphorically like the Walking Dead. Their skin, look at their skin, look at their eyes. That is the window right there as to what's going on inside. Look into their eyes if you can, and if you can stand it. It's an unpleasant interaction with someone when you look at them and they're full of shit, literally, figuratively, metaphorically. They're lying through their teeth. But you have to remain professional, and you have to remain, as they say, you have to remain above it all. And that's true, but you don't want to get so above it all where you believe, that you understand and you comprehend. That's an ongoing battle right there. And it's not necessarily a battle. It's an ongoing development when you are evolving your consciousness to every single day, every second of the day to comprehend. I do everything in my power to understand our humanity. And each time, man, I do learn something every time I dive deep into that subject. So, and that's why I focus more so on the criminal negative energy side. When I say I focus, I do everything in my power to comprehend it, because that's the quote unquote cancer on our society right there. So once we understand that element, then we can understand everything else. It just falls into place. It's all energy. If you can understand the energy of criminal negative energy, then you're ahead of the game. So my point is, allow people to fold and walk away. In other words, don't engage in stuff that you can't handle, and stop believing you're so much better than you are. It's about self. It's about self. It's about protecting self, protecting your environment, protecting the people around you, protecting protecting humanity. That's what it's about. Ultimately, it's about universal love. So we have these these idiot behaving people who believe that they are just above the fold. They believe they're above the fold of reality or our society. Okay, so what I'm going to do is just look up see if I can find some metaphors for all of this. Because I told you about the, know when to hold, know when to walk away, know when to blah, 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 blah. That was written, it was a song, The Gambler, and I think Kenny Rogers sung it. And a lot of people thought it was about gambling. I really do think most people thought it was literally about gambling. So that's what a lot of people, when this song came out, I can guarantee you, a lot of people started showing up at those casinos and attempting to understand that concept when it was a metaphor from the beginning. I can guarantee you, possibly, probably won't be admitted. Whoever wrote the song knew it was a metaphor. I told you, like that movie, The Blob. Sometimes you have to create these movies and create, these storylines, but each has a metaphor to it. All of them do. And some of these were SOS, a cry for help. Save our ship, metaphor. So, yeah, it says that song was written by Don Schultze. I don't know if I'm pronouncing that right. In 1993. Now, let's see what this means here. When I said above the fold. Let's look for a metaphor. Yeah, sometimes you have to, if you want to play the game of chess, you have to be above the fold. You need to also know when to fold and know when to walk away. But I'm telling you, allow others to fold and walk away from you, literally, and leave you the fuck alone, and allow you to mind your fucking business. Because a lot of people are on that train of attempting to fuck with people and bother people, because their lives are in scrambles and they don't have shit going on with themselves. So let's go pick on other people, and that's jealousy and envy, which is in the class of a criminal negative energy. Okay, so what does it say here? What is our okay, so above the fold is often compared to a movie poster. Okay, that's not That's not what I want. Where the top part captures attention, encouraging viewers to engage further, similar to how the visible portion of a web page entices users before they scroll down. Okay, so just understand that more deeper than that. It's an impression to draw interest. Is basically what it's saying. And for you on the individual level, remain above the fold yourself, meaning stay righteous, do the right things, understand the effects of, understand cause and effect and the consequences, ground yourself, and stay above all the chatter, because there's chatter all the time, and there are people intentionally wanting to bother you. And when I say they want to bother you, they want to know who you're talking to, what you're talking to, how you're talking to somebody. They want to come into your homes. They want to inspect your property. They want to inspect your this, and they want to inspect your materialism. What do you have? What are you hiding in your homes? What are you hiding in your apartments? What are you hiding in your vehicles? So a lot of that's going to start happening. They want to know what's in your checking accounts, what's in your savings accounts, what's where are you hoarding some of these materialistic things that supposedly hold value, like cash. Where are you hiding your vehicles? Where are you hiding your assets. Where are you hiding those things? Okay, they want to know everything you're doing, and so that they can like I was listening to something, whereas they're going to go back, they're not supposed to go back. You remember this old thing about on your credit, they're not supposed to go back no more than 7 years, and then not hold anything of 7 years and up, 7 years and up. Say for example, we all go through trials and errors. We all have things to get over. We all have financial issues sometimes. We all have this or that and the other. We all have breakdowns sometimes. We all have these kind of realities of our lives where, we were barely above water as far as breathing and handle, So now they're going to start holding all these past events against you. They're going to search, have artificial intelligence search the world over to find out what kind of mistakes you've made 10 years ago, 20 years ago, and see how they can use that against you financially. Hurt your credit score, which is a bunch of bullshit in itself, the credit score rating. Okay, as far as I'm concerned, my credit score ought to be off the charts because of my behaviors and actions, but no, not. It's manipulative, it's deceptive, it's based on your demographics, and most importantly, based on your identity. If you are a biological woman, more specifically and especially, and specifically, I ought to point out, biological black females are the target of all of this as well when it comes to credit score. A lot of biological single black women were able to buy their own homes, qualify for their own homes, qualified for this. In other words, they earned this so-called fake persona of an American dream. They surpassed it, the biological black female. But then each time they put in more difficult measures for the biological black female to rise above that. But then, because they're so idiot in their thinking and they're not thinking, it affects everybody else. As I said to you, the biological black female is innately inclined. Okay, and if the biological black female is doing well, so will the society. Okay, the biological black female sets the standards. You don't have to accept that. You don't have to even engage it. Energy is energy. Reality is reality. Either you figure this out on your own, or you're gonna get fucked every time. And so many people think they understand the game of life because you made it a game of life, but it's not a game of life. And that's where you are playing checkers versus chess because you think you're playing the game of life. There is no game of life. It is life. Okay? So I'm going to go ahead and stop this right now. I got things to do. I want to finish cleaning up in here. Hoping to get rid of some of this dust and you know, and make my Monday a Monday. Okay? Peace and love, and trust me, I will be back.